The NFL season has officially come to an end, and now it is time for us to look forward into the future. Who is going to play each other in the playoffs, and most importantly, who is going to win the Super Bowl? So as you can see in front of me, I have I have gathered the 14 best teams in the NFL, and they will battle each other to see who will win the Super Bowl this year. So without further ado, I will begin in the AFC conference because that is on the left, and I will work my way towards the right. So the very first game that is going to be played will be the Los Angeles Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. In between these two teams, this game probably won't even be close. The Chargers have picked up some momentum, but the Jacksonville Jaguars have been on a hot 7-game win streak. I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win this game without a doubt, and they will advance to the divisional round. So I will be crossing out. Maybe I should make that a lot bolder so I can get like marker or something. Oh yeah. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars will be moving on to the divisional round. On the other hand, in the NFC, we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't even know how Tampa Bay made it this far into the playoffs, to be completely honest with you. Like, I don't even know how they're even a wild card. They barely got in at a 4 seed because they won their terrible division. It's ridiculous. With that being said, the Dallas Cowboys are going to easily defeat Tom Brady and the Bucks, leading them into the divisional round. I don't like how that came out, so I'm just gonna redo my X. Next, in the AFC, we have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The Baltimore Ravens lost Lamar Jackson a couple of weeks ago, and since then they have not been able to recover from Lamar Jackson's loss. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow on the Cincinnati Bengals has been hot and on fire. Again, this game shouldn't be close. If it was, I would be surprised. Unless Lamar Jackson can come back from the hospital within, like, very, very quickly, this is going to be a blowout. So, with that being said, the Bengals are going to win this round and advance towards the divisional round. Over in the NFC, you have number 6, the New York Giants, versus number 3, the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are the greatest team in football. Period. I don't think I need to elaborate on that. So with that being said, the Vikings and the Giants have actually played before in Minneapolis earlier this season, and the Vikings smoked the New York Giants with a last-second 61-yard field goal. I mean, it really wasn't even close. So, of course, the Vikings are going to advance to the divisional round, leaving the New York Giants in the dust. Go back to New York. Over here in the AFC, once again, you have number 2, the Buffalo Bills, versus number 7, the Miami Dolphins. This will be the third time these teams have played this season, and they have had mixed results. That being said, I just think that the Buffalo Bills are the better football team than Miami Dolphins. So I'll be crossing out Miami to be eliminated in the first round. And finally, back in the NFC, I was really hoping that, as a Vikings fan, I was hoping that Green Bay would be placed in this spot to take on the 49ers, because I think Green Bay is a better football team than the Seahawks. I was hoping that the 49ers would get a much stronger opponent than they would in the first round. With that being said, I think that the 49ers is the Vikings' greatest threat to winning the Super Bowl this year, and they should easily be able to beat the Seahawks. Now moving on here, I will be just advancing these. Yeah, it didn't work how I wanted it to. Let me take a screenshot here. Copy. Paste. Huh. Now, with the wild card round out of the way, now it's time to head into the divisional round. Beginning with the first round in the divisional round, you have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I said earlier that the Jacksonville Jaguars had momentum, but I don't think it's that much momentum. I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game. I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I believe Kansas City just is a better, well-rounded football team. However, I could see a world where Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars upset the Chiefs, but my gut feeling is telling me Kansas City is going to win this game. So Kansas City is getting crossed off. Oh, I'm sorry. Kansas City is going to advance into the divisional championship round, into the championship round. Next up, you have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And this is as a Vikings fan, this is the best situation that the Vikings can find themselves in. The Dallas Cowboys are notorious for their alleged beatdown of the Vikings in Week 18, which has been forever redacted and forever classified. Nobody even knows if that's real. Taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who again beat the Vikings, but not as badly. The Eagles and the Cowboys played earlier, and I believe the Eagles won. So I'm going to pick the Eagles to take out the Cowboys. To take out the Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys, in the divisional round. Next up in the AFC, you have the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are a football team that can look unstoppable, yet even gods bleed. Meanwhile, the Bengals have looked unstoppable this season too. Early in the season, the Bengals were struggling to pull it together, but as of recently, it's just been all Bengals. The Bengals pulled their team around the Bengals pulled their team together just like the Lions and just like the Packers did towards the later part of the season. That being said, I'm going to pick the Bengals to win this game against the Buffalo Bills. We could have seen this game beforehand, but unfortunately for everybody, the game was canceled due to a heart attack suffered by Damar Hamlin. As I'm uploading this, it does appear that his injuries are getting better, which is good for everybody. And finally, you have the the Minnesota Vikings, the best team in football, taking on the San Francisco 49ers, which will most likely be their greatest threat to winning the Super Bowl this year. Minnesota Vikings are 13-4 on the season, and the San Francisco 49ers are the same. 13-4 versus 13-4. Minnesota Vikings have beaten greater foes than the San Francisco 49ers in the past. They've beaten the Buffalo Bills, which is perhaps the game of the decade already. With that being said, San Francisco, for the Vikings to beat the San Francisco 49ers, their defense needs to step up, and they need to put pressure on Brock Purdy. If Brock Purdy gets hurt, we might be screwed because that game will be in 49ers, and the 49ers just pull a random guy out of the stands and have him be the quarterback and he'll start throwing dimes. But with that being said, the Minnesota Vikings will be able to clean up their mistakes in this game here and move on, defeat the 49ers in a great upset, advancing to the championship round. With the divisional rounds out of the way, it's now time to choose the champions who will attend the Super Bowl. Starting in the AFC, you have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. And as seen throughout this year, the Bengals have swept Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs 3-0 throughout the year. I don't know what it is, but the only team that Kansas City cannot beat is the Cincinnati Bengals, and because of that, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to defeat the Chiefs and go into the playoffs. Moving into the NFC Championship game, you have the might and fighting Minnesota Vikings taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. For the Minnesota Vikings, again, you have so many offensive weapons, and your defense comes in when it matters the most. Look at the Colts game. Our defense stepped up when we were down 33-0 and stopped the Indianapolis Colts to 3 points in the second half. In the playoffs, we'll be giving out 3 points throughout the entirety of this game. With that further said, the Minnesota Vikings and their defense will be able to step up and hold the Eagles and Jalen Hurts to 3 points in the entire game, winning the game and advancing to the Super Bowl. And finally, this brings us to the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, you have the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Cincinnati Bengals for the World Championship, Super Bowl 54. The Bengals are in the Super Bowl back-to-back, looking for their first Super Bowl win. They came up short last year versus the Rams and are looking to take vengeance upon the Vikings. On the other hand, the Vikings are looking at their 5th Super Bowl appearance of all time and are looking to get their first win ever. Their first appearance, and the Vikings will have their first appearance in forever. With that being said, this game could go both ways, but as I said at the very beginning of this video, your proud and mighty Minnesota Vikings are the greatest team in football and will easily defeat the Cincinnati Bengals 28-12. 28-12, the Vikings win the Super Bowl, making your Vikings Super Bowl 54 championships, and the world will live easy with the Vikings taking home and the world will live easy with the Vikings taking home the trophy.